Welcome to my YouTube channel at Sci-Fi Tales Pools. Please subscribe, like, and share to support my channel. Ethan Cole was a young soldier who lived in a small room near the capital. He was not rich, and his pay was enough only for food and simple things. To save money, he decided to put up a small note for a roommate. He thought maybe another soldier would come, or a worker from the town who needed a place to stay. For him, it was just a normal idea, nothing special. He hoped for someone quiet and easy to live with. A few days later, there was a knock at his door. Ethan opened it and stood still, unable to speak. In front of him was a young woman with golden hair tied neatly, and her clothes looked simple, but her face showed something different. She carried herself with a kind of pride and grace that was not common. Ethan did not know what to say. Then she spoke with a soft but firm voice. She told him her name was Lillian, and she was looking for a place to stay. Ethan was confused. Something about her felt strange, like she did not belong to the streets or the common people. As she stepped inside, Ethan noticed her careful movements. She looked around the small room, almost with wonder, as if she had never seen such plain walls or worn wooden chairs. Then she told Ethan the truth. She was the princess of the kingdom, but she did not want to live in the palace anymore. She was tired of the rules, the guards, and the constant eyes on her. She wanted freedom, even if it was for a short time. She said she saw his note and thought it was the right chance. Ethan was shocked. He almost laughed, thinking maybe this was a joke. But her eyes told him it was real. She begged him to let her stay, saying she would not be trouble and that she could pay him. Ethan thought about the risk. If anyone found out, he would be punished, maybe worse. But as he looked at her, he saw she was serious. She wanted to live a normal life, and she trusted him to help her. After a long silence, Ethan gave a slow nod. He agreed, even though he knew it could change his life forever. Ethan found it hard to believe that Princess Lillian was now living in his small room. At first, he thought she would change her mind and leave, but she stayed. She slept on a small bed that he had moved to the corner. She shared meals with him as if she was no different from anyone else. It was strange for him to see her eat plain bread and stew without complaint. She even washed her own dishes, which surprised him even more. She seemed curious about everything around her, from the simple furniture to the sounds of the streets outside. The days went by, and Ethan saw that Lillian was trying hard to live like a normal person. She went with him to the market, where she looked at all the stalls with wide eyes. She asked him about the prices, about how people earned money, and how they lived. Ethan explained what he could, though he felt awkward speaking so openly with a princess. She listened to every word and sometimes laughed when she noticed how nervous he became. Slowly, he began to feel less uneasy around her. At night, they often talked. Lillian shared her thoughts about the palace and how lonely she felt there. She told Ethan that life in the palace was full of rules and duties, but empty of real friends. Everyone bowed to her, but no one spoke to her as an equal. Ethan listened quietly, feeling sorry for her, even though she was the daughter of the king. For the first time, he understood that even someone who seemed to have everything could feel trapped. Ethan, in return, told her about life as a soldier. He spoke about the long hours, the training, and the fear of battles. He admitted how hard it was to serve without knowing what the future might bring. Lillian seemed to respect his honesty, and she told him he was braver than he realized. Hearing her words made Ethan feel stronger. Though they came from different worlds, they began to find comfort in each other's company. Ethan noticed how Lillian tried to help with chores, even though she did not know much about them. She burned the bread once, and they both laughed until their sides hurt. These small moments made Ethan forget the danger of hiding her. For the first time in years, he felt his room was not just a place to stay, but a place that felt alive. Life with Lillian grew more natural for Ethan, but outside their small room, the city was changing. News spread that the princess had disappeared from the palace. Soldiers searched every corner, and rumors spread through the markets. Some people said she had been kidnapped, others whispered that she had run away. Ethan tried to stay calm, but each time he heard the patrols outside, his heart raced. He knew if anyone found her in his room, his life would be ruined. Lillian, however, did not hide in fear. She wanted to see more of the world beyond the palace. She begged Ethan to take her to the poorer districts where families struggled to survive. At first he refused, worried about her safety, but her eyes showed determination. Finally he agreed, covering her with a simple cloak so no one would recognize her. Together, They walked through narrow streets filled with tired faces and hungry children. Lillian was silent for a long time, and Ethan saw how the truth weighed on her. Later that night, back in their small room, Lillian told Ethan how blind she had been. She had lived in comfort while so many suffered. She admitted that running away had begun as an escape, but now it felt like a lesson she needed. Ethan listened and realized she was not just a girl searching for freedom, but someone who wanted to understand her people. He admired her more, even though he knew the danger was growing. The palace guards became more restless. They questioned soldiers in the barracks, including Ethan, asking if anyone had seen the princess. Ethan lied and kept his face steady, though his chest was tight with fear. He spent nights awake, listening for footsteps outside, ready to protect her if anyone came. Despite the danger, their bond grew stronger. Lillian trusted Ethan completely, and Ethan found himself speaking more openly than he ever had. He confessed his doubts about his place in the army, and she told him he had more honor than men twice his rank. The more they spoke, the more he realized how much he wanted to keep her safe. Yet deep inside, he also knew their secret could not last forever. The world outside was closing in, and sooner or later, someone would discover the truth. One evening, Ethan returned from duty and found 3 royal guards waiting outside his small room. His chest tightened as he saw them speaking to neighbors. He tried to stay calm, but his hands trembled as he walked closer. The guards turned to him and demanded to know if he had seen Princess Lillian. Ethan shook his head and said he knew nothing. His voice was steady, but inside he feared they already knew. When he entered the room, Lillian was standing by the window, her face pale but calm. She had overheard everything. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Ethan wanted to tell her to run, but she lifted her chin and said she would not hide anymore. She told him she could not return to the palace, as if nothing had happened. She had seen the pain of her people, and she could not forget it. Ethan tried to argue, but her eyes were filled with fire. She was no longer just a princess escaping rules. She was someone who wanted to change her kingdom. That night, the guards returned and knocked hard on the door. Ethan stepped forward to block their way, his heart pounding. The captain ordered him aside, but Ethan refused. He declared that if they wanted the princess, they would have to go through him first. The guards raised their weapons, but before a fight could start, Lillian spoke. She stepped past Ethan and faced the men herself. Her voice was clear as she told them she would not return until she was ready. She wanted her father to know she had chosen to live among her people. The guards hesitated. None of them expected such courage from her. Ethan stood beside her, ready to fight if they tried to force her. After a tense silence, the captain lowered his hand. He warned Ethan that this choice would bring punishment, but then the men left without another word. Ethan and Lillian stood together in the quiet room, both shaken but unbroken. For the first time, Ethan realized that he had chosen his side. He was no longer only a soldier of the crown. He was a protector of Lillian, and he knew he would follow her wherever this path led. The danger had grown greater, but so had their bond. They had made their choice, and there was no turning back. The next days were filled with tension. Everyone in the city talked about the missing princess, but now some also whispered about her courage. People said she had been seen among them, walking in the markets and speaking with families. For the first time, the common people felt hope that someone in the palace cared about their lives. Ethan watched these whispers spread and knew that the truth was stronger than any guard. Soon, word came that the king wanted to see his daughter. Ethan feared this meeting would be the end of his freedom. Still, he stood by her side as they entered the palace gates under heavy watch. The grand halls were filled with silence as they walked toward the throne. The king sat waiting, his face stern and unreadable. Ethan bowed low, ready for anger and punishment, but he refused to step away from Lillian. The king looked at his daughter for a long time before speaking. He asked why she had run away, and Lillian answered without fear. She told him she had wanted freedom, but she had also wanted truth. She had seen the struggles of the people, and she could no longer close her eyes to them. She spoke with honesty, her voice steady, and every person in the hall listened in silence. Ethan felt pride rise in his chest as he heard her speak. To Ethan's surprise, the king did not punish them. Instead, he sighed and admitted that perhaps his daughter had shown more courage than his council. He said the crown could not ignore the people any longer. Ethan was called forward. The king studied him and said he had shown loyalty not only to the princess, but also to the kingdom. Instead of punishment, Ethan was honored for his bravery. From that day forward, things began to change. Lillian was no longer only a princess, locked away behind walls. She walked among her people and listened to them. Ethan stayed by her side, not only as a soldier, but as someone she trusted deeply. Their story spread through the kingdom, a tale of a soldier who opened his door and found not just a roommate, but a partner in courage. It was the beginning of a new time, where hope replaced fear, and where a young soldier and a princess proved that even the smallest choices could change the future. Thank you for watching and being part of our community.